In an old town deep within the forest, there stood an abandoned house. For years, no one had dared to go near it. The story of the house was on everyone's lips in the town. 50 years ago, the family who lived there had vanished overnight. The doors were left open, the dinner table was set, but no one was found. The police had no clues, and the case remained a mystery.
The town's new teacher was a young and curious woman. When she heard the story, she felt compelled to see the house for herself. Her friends tried to dissuade her. "Don't go there, Layla. That house is cursed."
Whoever goes in never comes back.
But Layla, a realist who didn't believe in superstitions, thought, "It's just an old house. There's nothing to fear." One Saturday morning, Layla set out for the house. As she walked deeper into the forest, the sky grew darker. The light filtering through the trees was replaced by a thick fog. When she finally reached the house, she realized it truly had an eerie atmosphere. The doors were rotten, the windows were broken. As she stepped inside, the dusty air burned her throat. The interior of the house was chilling. Family photos hung on the walls, but the eyes in the pictures had been scratched out. Old toys, a broken clock, and dark stains resembling blood were scattered on the floor. Layla climbed the stairs. With every step, the floorboards creaked, as if the house was trying to warn her. On the upper floor, a room at the end of the hallway caught her attention. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, she found a child's room. The walls were covered in scribbles. "Don't go. It's mine. It's coming." Layla noticed something under the bed. When she reached for it, she found a dusty diary. As she flipped through the pages, she read the writings of Emily, the youngest daughter of the family. "Mom and Dad don't see it, but it's here. It stands in my room every night. It watches me. I see it. It hides in the shadows. I can't stop it. It will take me." Layla's heart began to race. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped. Her breath turned to vapor. She heard a sound behind her, a faint whisper. When she turned around, she saw a tall, dark silhouette in the hallway. It was moving toward her. Layla dropped the diary and ran. As she descended the stairs, the footsteps behind her grew louder. When she reached the door, it was locked. Layla screamed, pounded on the door, but it wouldn't open. She looked back and saw the silhouette now standing right behind her. It had no eyes, only emptiness. With one final effort, Layla kicked the door open and fled. When she returned to the town, she was breathless. Her friends were shocked.
"Layla, where have you been? We've been looking for you for hours."
Layla looked at them in confusion.
"How long was I gone?"
Her friends replied.
We noticed you were missing 3 days ago. Where were you?
Layla's face turned pale. She thought she had only spent a few hours in the house. But the real horror was that the pages of Emily's diary, which she had tucked into her pocket, were now blank. That night, as she tried to sleep, she saw a shadow in the corner of her room. The whispers began. "It's coming." The next day, Layla went to the town's library. She wanted to find out more about the house. The librarian, an old woman named Margaret, turned pale when Layla asked about it. "Margaret, stay away from that house, Layla. What happened there was never explained. But I know one thing. That house doesn't just take the family. It takes everyone who enters." Layla pressed Margaret for more information. Reluctantly, the old woman pulled out an old newspaper clipping. The article, from 50 years ago, described the family's disappearance. But there was one detail that stood out. In the basement of the house, a room filled with strange symbols had been found. No one had ever been able to decipher them. Determined to uncover the truth, Layla decided to return to the house. This time, she wasn't alone. Tom, the town's young police officer, agreed to accompany her. Though skeptical at first, Tom grew serious when he saw the fear in Layla's eyes. When they arrived at the house, the sky was already darkening. Layla showed Tom the diary and the blank pages.
There's something here, Tom, but I don't understand what it is.
This place gives me the creeps. Maybe we should leave.
But Layla was determined.
No, we need to find out what happened here.
They entered the house together. This time, it felt even more oppressive. The photos on the walls were now completely defaced, the eyes gouged out as if by a frantic hand. Layla led Tom to the basement. As they descended the stairs, the air grew colder, and a thick fog surrounded them. In the basement, they found the room covered in symbols. Layla ran her fingers over the carvings, and suddenly, a scream echoed through the house. Tom swung his flashlight around, but there was no one there.
There's something here, Layla. Maybe we should really go.
But Layla was transfixed. She noticed a pattern in the symbols, as if they were telling a story. A family, a curse, and a presence hiding in the shadows. Just then, Tom's flashlight went out. In the darkness, the whispers began again. "It's coming. It's coming." Layla reached for Tom's hand, but it was ice cold.
Tom?
There was no response. When the flashlight flickered back on, Tom was gone. Panicking, Layla tried to run back upstairs, but the stairs were gone. The house was trapping her. The symbols on the walls seemed to move, swirling round her. In the center of the room, Layla saw a name carved into the wall. Emily. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her. She turned and saw a little girl. It was Emily, but her eyes were empty voids.
You found me, but it's too late. It took me. Now it will take you.
No, I can save you.
There's no escape. It's always here, in the shadows. Now you'll be part of it too.
Layla screamed as the room began to collapse around her. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end. But then she heard a voice.
Layla, there you are.
She opened her eyes and found herself outside the house. Tom was shaking her.
Where were you? I lost you.
Layla, disoriented, looked around. The house was still there, but it no longer seemed to pull her in. Tom led her back to town. The next day, Layla decided to leave the town, but as she packed her bags, she found Emily's diary. The pages were still blank, except for one final note. "Thank you, but it's still with me, and it will never let you go." That night, as Layla tried to sleep, she saw the shadow in the corner of her room again. The whispers grew louder. "It's coming." And one night, the shadow was no longer in the corner. It was right beside her bed. And that night, Layla disappeared too. In the town, Layla's disappearance was talked about for a while, but no one knew where she had gone. The old house still stood deep in the forest, and if you ever go there, you might see the face of a little girl looking out from the window. But don't look at her, because she might take you too.